Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of To the Grave and Back. Are you sponsoring or something?
Sponsored by Milo Sweet Tea and Lemonade, not.
Well, now I was going to say, okay, now we're sponsored by Milo's.
Wish we were.
Today we're actually going to be making this a relatively short episode because unfortunately I do have to get off in about 20 minutes, believe it or not. So we may have to make this a part 1 and 2. And Lois is not going to be able to join us for tonight because I know she's experiencing some type of pain, I believe. So she has
like a chronic sciatica issue.
Yeah, sciatica. From what I
sciatica.
You know what? I'm still having trouble understanding that because I've never heard of that before.
It's when you have like any other issue in your body that's a muscle or a chronic bone issue, like say mine is the base of my spine. The lower disc is starting to corrode from injuries that I've incurred. So that lower disc is getting thinner, but when it does that, there's nerves that go through it and it pinches those nerves and it goes all the way down your hip and down into your leg and it feels like fire is shooting down.
Oh boy, that's got to be. Well,
that's
I was just about to ask, is it like similar to like arthritis in a way, or is it more painful than arthritis?
Probably about the same, just a different form of that kind of.
Okay.
A little bit different kind of pain. Instead of an aching, it's like a shooting fire, like fiery.
Yikes, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, it can.
I did speak to her, however, right before several minutes before you came on. I was actually checking up on her and also kind of asking, what was going to be happening while you were still on your way. And she said she was still in pretty much a lot of pain, but she was getting there. But she will be back tomorrow afternoon for the Frighteners. So maybe not for this one, but she'll be back on tomorrow for the other show. So what's going on, Rita?
Yeah, this weather usually makes it act up. Like arthritis is, triggered sometimes by like cold, damp, and yucky weather. Like for me, sciatica is triggered. For mine anyways, probably hers too. If it's yucky, cold, damp, wintertime, anything like that, it triggers the sciatica.
Okay. Yeah, surprise. I haven't had anything like that before myself. So it's this is all kind of new stuff for me.
Yeah. Everyone take care of yourself so you don't have these issues when you're only 40 years old.
Yeah.
And you have that to look forward to for a lot longer.
Well, it's scary for me because that's 10 years from now.
Take care of yourself in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do because it may seem like a long time, but that will go really fast before I know it.
Yeah, I got mine from a rafting injury, but I also was in a car wreck that I think contributed to it. So just be careful. Don't be any car accidents or rafting or boating accidents.
Did you know that I was in a car accident last year? Did you ever hear about that?
I think I vaguely remember.
Yeah, I was with my friend Tom McNicholas. We were heading out to Mansfield, Ohio. And
on your way somewhere.
We were in Ohio, and part of the car got hit by a truck. I mean, fortunately, both of us were completely unharmed. Definitely scared the hell out of us. But, at least we were okay in the end. That's all that mattered. What's up, Robert?
Hi.
Nick and Rosie or Rosie and
Happy Monday. Happy Thursday. It seems like a Monday. It's been a Monday today for me anyways.
What's the weather like over there right now?
Here it's been raining for 2 days straight. There's a lot of mud, a lot of deep mud, a lot of thick puddles and stuff like that. Wet, damp, dark.
Well, up here it's been it's actually sunny. It's in the 60s over here. However, we're probably going to be getting that shared tomorrow because it's supposed to rain, I think, for the next couple days. So that'll be us starting tomorrow. So we're just kind of enjoying the sunshine for now before everything gets washed out.
Yeah, my neck's been bothering me today, but I think it's because it's raining outside.
Yeah, sometimes the humidity will cause whether it's the humidity or freezing temperatures, that's going to cause that type of. Again, I've had my headache situations before, and that happens to me a lot from the weather. So, but oh man, I almost lost track of what we were originally going to.
Jim Jones, and I have no clue who Jim Jones is. I don't remember, so you can refresh my memory.
So Jim Jones, like I said, we're not going to really have a lot of time to really talk about because I got to get off here soon. But to give at least a little introduction and demonstration of who Jim Jones is he was. I'm trying to figure out the best way I could really start him off with, but I could start off with this, was that he was this crazy charismatic preacher that existed, and he founded this organization. That his organization actually started back in the 50s, called the People's Temple, which surprisingly he founded that in where was that at? Indianapolis in Indiana. And it was intended, obviously, like to be like a type of religious organization that was obviously not only created by Jim Jones, but also by a lot of his associates who became his followers. So they quickly developed this group, but before long, it started becoming more like that of a cult, and things just kind of really took a turn.
I think I know who he is. I think I know who he is. Yeah.
Well, if there's what am I thinking of? There's that famous line out there that's called, because this is what later resulted in the Jim Jones, what became known as the Jonestown Massacre. Drink the Kool-Aid or something like that. There's like a famous line out of it because of the.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid? I've heard don't.
Yeah, it was like, I can't remember how they said it. I'm trying to look for that right now.
And there's one that's too much sugar in the Kool-Aid. That's another saying.
Yeah. What was that line? That's like nagging at me now.
Poison in the Kool-Aid, cyanide, arsenic in the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
See, I'm going through Wikipedia right now to find that.
Stay away from the Kool-Aid.
I know it wasn't that one. Let's see. It was. Oh man, damn! It's like I'm looking all over for it, and I cannot find it. It should have been very quick to find.
You can just call the episode next week, whatever it is.
You know what? Wait, no, I found it.
You did?
So it's the massacre led to the phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid." That's what it is. Although in reality,
which is referring to what?
It was kind of in reference to the massacre that occurred, because, see, the thing about...
Now we can get the sirens.
Well, the thing about it was that there was this popular misconception that they actually, when the Jonestown Massacre occurred, it was believed that they used Kool-Aid. Yep, see, Cliff just wrote it down. Drinking the Kool-Aid is an expression used to refer to a person who believes in a possibly doomed or dangerous idea because of perceived potential high awards.
Oh, like you're going to be rewarded in some way by committing this.
Yeah, they believe that they were that type, the cult that he had ran, which, by the way, I mean, even though it was formed in Indianapolis, Indiana, they later moved it to another country. It actually they moved to a small country called Guyana, which, for those that don't know, Guyana is a small nation on the northern coast of South America. In fact, most Americans do remember Guyana because of Jim Jones. So, although originally when he moved his temple, Guyana wasn't the original spot he intended. He actually wanted to move his people's temple either to China or the Soviet Union, but unfortunately he was unable to do that. So, which, according to for people who knew him, he was heartbroken by that. So they decided to choose Guyana, because
which I've never heard of. I don't think.
Yeah, like I said, it's on the northern coast of South America. In fact, I even have one paranormal connection down in Guyana, which, whether people were part of his, people were part of his cult or not, even modern day residents of Guyana still remember that, even though this was more of an American group that came. But they were that type of group where they wanted to escape, not only the United States, but they wanted to escape, basically a country that's ran by a government. They wanted to have their own government, their way of life, their own rules.
So they were anti-government.
they were kind of like anti-government people in a way.
Yeah.
So they wanted to live this life without having anyone telling them what to do, except Jim Jones himself being the top of that hierarchy. And that's where it eventually led to the creation of Jonestown. So, which that was probably hell on earth right from the start, even before the mass suicide murders occurred. Cliff just wrote, Jones proposed revolutionary suicide by way of ingesting a powdered drink mix made from Flavor Aid. That's what it is. I was going to say, in spite of it's similar to
identified as Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's similar to Kool-Aid, but it's actually a different type of drink. But it was lethally laced with cyanide and other drugs, which even just a small drop of that stuff inside your system, that is deadly. That can kill you immediately.
Yeah.
So
that was how the Dr. Death guy killed all of those patients.
Right.
Cyanide.
They used that. I think they chose cyanide and mixed it up because they figured they did this in a way so that it wouldn't have been, I guess, painful. Even though it probably was still painful for some, it was meant to basically be I guess you can kind of call it like a peaceful way to die, which
very quick and painless.
Quick and painless, yeah.
Although I have heard that it can actually be painful. I think I'm correcting myself. I think it was arsenic that Dr. Death poisoned everyone with. It was from ant poisoning he used to kill all those people and make those people sick. But I've heard that actually sometimes it can make you really sick for a minute, like you can convulse. If you don't get enough of it and you get a small amount, it'll make you be basically like flu-like symptoms, I think.
Right, yeah. Well, what was worse was when the massacre occurred, which now occurred almost 45 years ago. That was on November 18th, 1978. And you know, the most probably disturbing aspect of the massacre that took place was that they started off with all the kids first. The kids were the first in line to go through. And a lot of these kids certainly had no idea what was going on. They didn't understand why everybody was
so sick.
It is sick. You know, they didn't understand what was going on. They didn't know why they were doing this. And to make matters worse, those that were refusing it were actually sent by their own parents. And it was described that these people were almost like that in a trance in a way. It's like they were mind controlled by what Jim Jones was telling people to do.
Like David Koresh, like the David Koresh.
Yes.
Colony or whatever you want to call it, the David Koresh thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just absolutely insane. So it's like they thought it would be better for the kids to die first before the adults did. I mean, they went through all these different groups, like age groups, thinking that this was appropriate. And to this day, some people know this, others don't. There's actually a recording of the entire suicide ceremony, if you want to put it that way. It's not like it's a audio recording, which I think became known as the death tape.
Did they record it themselves to leave it behind?
Somebody obviously recorded it within the cults, and the tape is still around 45 years later, and in fact it's even on YouTube. It's about a 45-minute recording. I have not listened to the full thing. I've only listened for a couple minutes. Hey, Lauren, good to see you. I've only listened to a few minutes of it, and it's weird. When you hear the first part of the tape, it doesn't sound like anything bad's going on. It's like because there's like music, you hear like organ music play. You hear like organ music playing in the background, so it's like almost like church-like sounding, like religious-like sounding to it. And you hear Jim Jones preaching and convincing all his followers to commit revolutionary suicide. And you hear, I guess in the later part, you start hearing all these screams and cries, which at first it sounds just like as if there was like a whole crowd of people like stuck in an area. But what you don't realize is that unless you learn the full story, that was when they were committing the revolutionary suicide by Flavor Aid and the cyanide. It's from what I've heard, it's a very difficult tape to listen to. Even if it doesn't sound disturbing, it's still disturbing due to the fact that you're listening to an audio recording of people committing suicide.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy. I did not know that.
yeah, they've used that tape. There was a documentary that was made on the History Channel. This was like several years ago, and I think they used parts of the audio recording, like to give obviously the reality of what was going on. I mean, like typical of such documentaries, they use dramatic reenactments, recreating what occurred in Jonestown, but they also, of course, mix it in with the real recording, which is just. Up until then, I never even heard of the Jonestown Massacre.
I've heard of that. I didn't connect Jim Jones with it. I didn't remember that there was I think that he's not who I thought he was. Like there was another guy that started
Chantel?
a really like like brainwashing type religious cult type thing here in the United States, and he was actually. It wasn't the Jonestown. It was something else. They were actually murdering the people, not like by Flavor Aid, but like I think they were actually maybe shooting them and burying them somewhere. I'll have to go back and look.
There was this is why I wish Lois was on. I'm not sure about that one, but I do know, however, that about almost 20 years after the Jonestown Massacre, there actually was somewhat of a little follower group, if you will. Have you ever seen that? It's not on anymore. It only ran for a few seasons. But have you ever seen that show called Killer Kids before? Did you ever watch that show? It's it's kind of an intense show and certainly a disturbing show too, because it focuses on kids, mostly teenagers, murdering people, obviously, hence the name Killer Kids. And there was one episode I did watch that dealt with this kid named Simon. I can't remember his last name. This was back in the late 90s, so almost 20 years afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And he was originally a resident of Guyana. So so when he at first he was just this nice kid. They escaped Guyana because of a lot of the political problems and war that was going, because since the Jim Jones massacre, Guyana has become a stabilized democracy. However, Guyana has a racialized politics. There's been a lot of political violence. And so when this kid and his family, Simon and his family, they moved from Guyana to escape all that. But he started developing a huge fascination with Guyana, really focusing on political entry, revolution, racism, and even Jim Jones. So he started this group that was, I can't remember the full name, but they called themselves the OARA. It was like a group that felt like as if the government was watching them. It was one of those type of groups. But as a result, he had some of these boys that joined, and it really became kind of like a cult, similar to what Jim Jones did. And to make matters, unfortunately, worse, this group resulted in the deaths of two people. They ended up murdering two people because it was because of ridiculous reasons. I think one of them might have been because they were grandparents, I think. And I think one of the grandparents was kind of racist towards this kid named Simon. So he decided that these grandparents needed to be killed, and he was doing it very similar to the way how Jim Jones had kind of instructed these revolutionary suicides, and they ended up committing these murders. They actually later called this the Simon Says murders because his name was Simon.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, there's not really too much. I mean, if I find the full name, I'll send it to you. So, but it was, to me, it was almost, I consider that almost like a follower group, if you will, from what Jim Jones originally had done, because very similar scenario. It was very much like a cult. Because if you kind of compare the two groups, what we can say is that a cult is usually led by one person who's in total control of another group. And in this case, both these guys, they made the rules. And if you're willing to follow them, then they knew that they were in control of you.
Mhm.
So that's what's kind of the scariest part about these cults, especially with Jim Jones's cult.
It's 4:00.
Oh shit! Damn it! Things were about to
So
get
that was
good.
a good introduction, though. That was like a good spiller. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to kind of make it like a precursor in a way, and also kind of throw in some other facts. I wish we could go longer, but unfortunately, I gotta get going because
We could continue it next week, and I could look up that other similar religious group, because it wasn't either one of those. There was another religious group, and it was in California, and Creepypasta California. And when I interviewed him, he told me about it, and he did a documentary on it. So I'll go look it up and see, and we could even throw that one in there too.
right. Well, like I said, I mean, this other one that I was talking about too. Like I said, I'll do some research, and if I'm able to find it, I'll send it to you so you can read it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we got to end this we got to end this now. Sadly, again, it was just because we were all just really busy, but we will definitely be back full time next week. So, but I
I
will be
would
back.
stay here by myself and talk about this, but I don't know anything about it. Only Nick does. So I didn't do the homework because I didn't know that person was a topic. I thought it was a person we were interviewing. So I can't talk about someone I don't know anything about either. So
See, I was just it's like I explained before. If I had a slideshow ready, if I was able to send a copy to you, you'd be able to continue onwards, even if I wasn't here. But since I just had that idea, that was literally just minutes away from broadcasting that. There was
Maybe
no
next
way I
week.
was gonna. Yeah, there was no way I was gonna be able to put something like that together. Those take a while.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week. But of course, I'll be back on here a couple hours for Supernatural Talk, which is, of course, our 1 year anniversary today. So we made it to 1 year.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but it should be something special. So looking forward to it.
Smash a cake in your faces.
that
And it says
I
happy
should-
anniversary, and you show it, and then you smash it in your face.
would be an awesome kind of way to introduce the anniversary episode.
Yeah, it would be better if y'all were in the same place though, and like Jeremy's here, and you're holding the cake, and you're like, "Look, Jeremy," and then you don't tell him, and you just squashed it in his face, and he had to get it out of all of his hair. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have enjoy your wake
Yeah. Well,
as much as possible.
Well, and to be clear, I mean, yeah, this wake that I'm going to, it's nobody that I was close. No one really that I know I was close with. It's for a friend of mine. Sadly, his grandmother passed away. She was 92 years old, so she lived a long life. So we're going just out of respect. And again, that's why we got to end after 4:00. So which is now after 4.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, we'll be back next week. So until then, I'll see some of you guys later tonight on Supernatural Talk. And I don't know if you had anything to say yourself, Rosie.
We'll see you next week, and we'll continue this topic. And then also tune in on Wednesday nights at 8:00 for The Spectral Sailor with me and Dawn.
I watched it last night, speaking of which. So great show once again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a great afternoon, and I'll see some of you guys later tonight. But if not, we'll see some of you guys next week. So take care, everyone.
Keep it creepy.